Here's the thing. Here's a move that happened in the last few hours that got me thinking whether the franchise really knows what it's doing or if they're just filling out the roster for the sake of filling it out. We just saw this organization pick up a guy who was dumped 3 times in less than 2 months. 3 times. And it wasn't by small market teams either. These were organizations that know what they're doing, that have structure, that have player development, and still, none of them wanted to hold on. So when I saw that the Yankees went out and signed Marco Luciano, my first reaction wasn't excitement. It was curiosity. Like, what did they see that nobody else saw? Because look at the timeline here. San Francisco had this kid for 7 years. 7. Paid $2,600,000 for him when he was only 16 years old. He was the 4th best international prospect of 2018. Made the top 60 lists in the league for 5 consecutive years. Everybody saw potential there, but potential and results are completely different things. In 2023, he finally got called up to the Giants. 14 games, 45 plate appearances, OPS of 641. Not the end of the world, but also nothing that makes you believe the guy is ready. Then comes 2024 and things fall apart completely. 27 games, hitting .211, OBP of .259, slugging .303, numbers that don't even support a decent bench role. And to top it off, all of 2025 in AAA Sacramento, the whole year there. To be honest, when an organization like San Francisco gives up on a guy they developed themselves for that long, it's because the problem is real. It's not just a slump. It's not just needing more time. It's because they hit the limit. But then Pittsburgh comes along last December and thinks, let's give him a shot. They pick him up. And how long did it last? Weeks, maybe not even that. I don't remember seeing one piece of news about him training with the Pirates. One. It was so quick, it's like it never even happened. Then Baltimore enters the picture 2 weeks ago. Same thing. January 15th, they'd already released him. And now the Yankees think they're going to fix what 3 teams couldn't. The reality is this bugs me. Not because I don't believe in the organization's ability to develop players. We do that well. We have a track record. But because the timing makes 0 sense. We're weeks away from spring training starting weeks. We just re-signed Cody Bellinger for 5 years and $162,500,000. We have real needs, pitching, bullpen depth, reliable bench options, and we use a 40-man roster spot on a guy that literally nobody wanted in the last 8 weeks. And here's the detail that complicates everything. He has no minor league options left. You understand the weight of that. It means if he doesn't make the 26-man regular season roster, he goes to waivers. Again, and if nobody claims him, then we can send him to AAA in Scranton. But we have to take the risk first. Have to risk losing for nothing a guy we just signed. So either he impresses big time in Grapefruit League, like absurdly to the point of being worth more than Oswaldo Cabrera or Jason Dominguez, or we're going to have to make a decision in 6 weeks. And what the most reliable source in the league just confirmed changes everything, because it's not just about him making the team. It's about him making the team being better than guys who are already here. Guys who have options. Guys we can send down without drama, and I can't see that happening. Not after everything we've already seen. Not after 3 organizations came to the same conclusion. Not with a guy who spent all of 2025 in AAA without getting called up once. Because think about it, if he had shown anything in Sacramento, if he'd given signs that he was close, San Francisco would have held on. They wouldn't have let a talent of that caliber, an investment of that size, walk away for nothing. But they did. And that tells me more than any statistic. Look, I know we love these redemption stories. We love picking up a guy everybody discarded and transforming him. Raul Ibanez in 2012 was like that. Aaron Hicks, before everything collapsed, had that profile. We like to believe we can see what others can't, but there's a huge difference between picking up an undervalued guy and picking up a guy that 4 different organizations looked at closely and said doesn't work. Because it wasn't just San Francisco that had access to him. Pittsburgh saw the same workouts. Baltimore saw the same numbers, and neither of them wanted to risk a 40-man roster spot. So what exactly changed in the last 2 weeks that made the Yankees think differently? The only answer that makes any sense is that there's something very specific that the coaching staff thinks they can fix. Some mechanical adjustment. Something in the approach against right-handed pitchers. Some tiny detail that nobody else identified. But if that's it, if it's something that's subtle, why not bring him in on a minor league deal? Why take up the 40-man now? And that's when I come back to that feeling that this is just a bet with no real commitment. Like, let's see what happens in spring training. If it works out, great. If it doesn't, next. Except the problem is we don't have spots to waste on experiments. Not at this point. not with the needs we have. Because while we're testing whether Luciano can rise from the dead, there are pitchers available. There are bullpen options that could make a real difference. There are pieces that would genuinely add value. But no, we went and got a 24-year-old infielder/outfielder who couldn't establish himself in 7 years of professional baseball. And look, I want to be wrong. I always want to be wrong when I doubt a franchise decision. Because at the end of the day, I'm rooting for everything to work out, rooting for every signing to turn to gold, rooting for us to find diamonds where nobody else saw them. But you also can't ignore the facts, can't pretend this makes strategic sense when you look at the complete picture. Because if the idea was to add infield depth, there are better options. If the idea was to have defensive versatility, there are more reliable guys. If the idea was to bet on young talent, Jason Dominguez is right there waiting for a chance. So what's left? What justifies this? Unless the answer is as simple as it seems. That it's literally just kicking the tires, see if it sticks. And if it doesn't stick, move on without losing anything but time. But even that logic doesn't explain why do it now. Why not wait until after spring training? Why not let him sign somewhere else, go to someone's AAA, and if he starts producing, then consider it. Can't get around this. Either there's information we don't know, or this was a rushed decision that won't lead anywhere. And I tend to believe the second option. Because when you see a pattern, when you see 3 different teams reaching the same conclusion in sequence, it's usually not coincidence. It's usually because the problem is real and visible to those on the inside. Now tell me something. Do you think the Yankees can transform a guy that San Francisco developed for 7 years and it didn't work out? Or is this just another occupied spot that's going to turn into a release in March?